Hey everyone, it's a One here on the Sunday afternoon, and as the world's going a little cray, right? I thought I'd come in and check in on you guys and just kind of give some of my thoughts about what's going on, maybe touch a little bit on cryptos, but clearly there's some other big things going on in the world that need to be addressed. So, yeah, this past week, they kind of set it off. I've been warning people for the last month, and I think 3 weeks ago I was kind of saying, like, they got about 1 to 2 more weeks before people really start to lose their SHIT. And it has to do a lot with that, with the lockdown. Like, you can't just shut down the whole economy and lock people up like prisoners and expect it to end well, in general. So yeah, on Monday, George Floyd had a knee pressed to his neck for 8 minutes, and now he's dead. And that just, like, Matchbox. And a lot of what we're seeing now is a result of this systemic racism kind of thing, and like that inequality that's existed in our system my whole life. I am now in my late 30s. So my whole life I've been aware of this, and I'm a half black, half white individual, so it's been an interesting route for me just dealing with a little bit of racism on both sides, from a black community, from a white community, not really having the interracial community that I can relate to, but everybody else is kind of like, yeah. Anyways, what we saw was a spark that set off all this underlying tension that the whole society was feeling because of this COVID-19 and all the other things. But it really goes back to, we can't even say just 2008. Like, my whole lifetime, this series of our economy is collapsing. It broke in 2008. They've just been printing money to try and make it better since then. But everything we're seeing is kind of a result of the buildup of this whole inequality system. And it's not black, white, and all this stuff. It's like people with money in the banking system and everybody else. The whole planet has become this thing that an organization over here can exploit to make money. Everything, even go back to slavery. It was about making money. Free labor, have something produced, and you make money off of it. So this focus on our money system has led to a lot of things that we're dealing with now. And it's coming out as a race riot and all this stuff, but that's just part of the problem, the part that really set it off. And I understand, and I support people out there trying to protest. I don't really support destroying a lot of innocent people's stuff, but I made a quote the other day on Facebook just kind of saying, like, when the dominant society holds personal possessions at the top of their pyramid of importance, the only way, when they start taking out people's lives, which the general population finds as the ultimate importance, the only way for the people whose lives are being taken to kind of fight back and show and display to people who value things as the utmost important thing, the only way to help them kind of relate to what you're going through is to destroy their things. That's kind of what we're seeing. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's an equivalent expression of anger that matches what they've been getting in terms of what a person holds as important. So, we value my friend's life. You kill my friends. You value your house. I'm going to kill your house, i.e. destroy it. That's kind of what they're doing. Again, I'm not out there destroying people's stuff because I don't want my stuff destroyed or my life taken. It's just kind of like when you engage in that dynamic, you're more likely to really like suffer the harder consequences for it. But that being said, we are definitely seeing a buildup of years of just inequality, both racially and financially in our whole system, and people need to hit the release valve. That's why you are in, especially the first couple days, you're seeing cops kind of standing around letting people vent. Cops, there's not enough cops. There's probably not even enough people in the army to deal with all the people in America. 330 million people. I think that if you get to the percentage-wise, it's like 2% of the population maybe that are in the military. There's more gang members than that, I think. This is just from my experience being in different areas and seeing the rough part of society. Even like the Hells Angels are 1%ers, but it's 1 to 3% of people that are kind of in the criminal aspect of life. So just that, it's an uneven game. You're trying to have police and military try to police all the bad aspects of people in our society, and then you take the general portion of society, especially you take younger people that reflect on consequences as much as you do when you get a little older. So they're like, yeah, let's go out there and riot. So they cannot control the population, and they know that. The part of the whole, we're making laws and we're enforcing laws and we make it come on really strong is because when it comes down to it, there is not enough law enforcement to control the horde of a country. The whole mass, if we all decide that we are no longer going to take it, they can't do anything about it. They've put on a tough show to make us all forget that fact. But what we're seeing now is people realizing that that is actually the case. They can't stop all of us from doing what we want to do if we're upset. So, yeah, we have a system that has pushed the whole population to this point where we're like, F the machine! And it's alright, because the system was getting a little out of whack, a little bit of imbalance. We had 80% of people living paycheck to paycheck, and then you shut the economy down. And I get it, the threat of death is horrifying for most people. You tell them there's this disease out there that's going to kill you, you're scared. And this again, since 9/11, we've been in this constant state of fear, which allows it much more easier for them to control us or manipulate our minds or get us to do things that are against our better judgment. That's why I say it's not about what you do, it's about being aware of what you do. I'm aware that the propaganda around us and watching the same negative stories on the news all the time has an effect on you and your mental state and your behaviors. So, I might still watch those things or be aware, keep them in my realm of awareness and knowledge base, but I do not feed into it and let it overtake me. I love to read things on both sides of a spectrum because it helps keep me balanced in the middle. I'm reading people on the left saying this is a conspiracy from the people on the right. I'm reading people on the right saying this is a conspiracy from the left. Probably both of them have truths in there. This is not a one-sided issue we're facing. This is a across the board, across the human species problem that we have run into, where we've gotten into inequality on a mass scale, and shit just got too strained. There's too many people for the way the system was previously built. And I look at any chart. You look at a commodity chart, you look at a currency chart, you look at a cryptocurrency chart, you look at biological species entering a new environment chart and how they fight against different other species that are there, and invasive species have a much more rapid chart that goes up. The one chart currently that does not really match other charts is the chart of the human population. Because we've been going like this for a while. And I've been trying to explain to people, if you want to remove emotions and empathy and all this stuff from it, I'm not saying that that's not important. Just looking at facts here, the human chart has gone up and it's due for a correction. And I think all the things that we are seeing are a manifestation of this correction. And people can point at Trump for this, or they released this virus, or all this crap. What I'm trying to describe to you is that it was going to happen, regardless of how it happened, which person said it, which cop knelt on whose neck. There was always going to be something that set this all off, because it's been boiling to a point. And we're focusing on these certain things that set it off, but we all need to realize there's a much grander picture going on here, and kind of be aware of that and operate in that thing. Because society is going through a switchover. This happens every 80 years or so. It's just technology changes, people changes, beliefs changes, ideals changes, principles clearly change. I mean, people have lost their principles. You can't be fighting against and saying that person raped that person back then, so they shouldn't be doing it. And then now they come to the fast forward to this person oh, this person's on my team, and yeah, I think they raped them, but they should be president. You lack principles. Our whole moral compass as a society has kind of been skewed along partisanship lines to it's okay if our team does it, but if they do it, they're evil. If you believe that and you accept that you can do it, but they can't, you're part of the problem, and that's why we're all going through this correction. Because we all need to realize self-responsibility. We're all here for our experience. What I'm seeing, and that's why there's so many different experiences. Black people, white people, poor, rich, so many different varieties. None of them are the same. We're all trying to figure out how can I make my experience better for me? We can point to the things out there that we see as wrong with the overall construction of the society that we're in. But if we can't change them on a grander level, what we can change is our personal behaviors and our actions. If you want a world where you see more equality, and this is just my opinion, start treating everybody you see as equals. Because then you're modeling it. We all have to start emanating out that which we wish we saw versus complaining about what's out there and then just perpetuating it. It's not about what you do. It's about being aware of what you do and then choosing what you want to do next. All right, so I kind of got off on a tangent on what I really wanted to talk about. I guess I want to talk about all that, but so yeah, riots started because of the past racism and all that stuff, but it's not just that. I think there was this underpinning of angst, anger. You lock down the society. 40% of businesses, 20 to 40% of businesses, especially restaurants, are not going to come back. And people that were previously living paycheck to paycheck, maybe some of them were given money from the government, but most of them, a lot of them did not have enough to get by. So they're this underlying stress of like, how am I going to feed myself? And how am I just going to survive has gotten people amped up. Spark. Set it off. But the people have had no voice. And now they're displaying the fact that they've had no voice by using their fists and their fires and their aggression. And it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just the way it is. And people are going to have to kind of press this release valve until the pressure deflates enough to we can kind of get back to where, okay, let's have an adult conversation about this. And that might be a while because it's been unequal for a long time, and I, as a black person myself, again, I'm half black, half white, but most people see me say black guy, so that's what they identify me as, and that's the world I've had to deal with. It hasn't been pleasant all the time. It hasn't been too hard for me because I can kind of avoid certain situations, and I have a really good intuitive sense to be like, nope, not going over there. Oh, I see that one coming, I'm going over there. But it hasn't not like there's still stuff I deal with a lot that's like, why do I have to deal with this kind of crap? So I can see why eventually if I'm responding politely, not getting angry, not getting aggressive, and stuff it just keeps going on the same, well clearly I'm the one that needs to change how I'm behaving. If I'm doing the right things and it's not changing out there, maybe I'm aware to be like, well, I need to change how I'm responding. That's why I was one time when I was a kid, I was bullied, and now I don't deal with bullies. And if I see a bully picking on other people, I'm like, go and step up and be like, hey, what's it like? Talk to somebody your own size. And they quickly back down. Like, don't allow the world to dictate how you should feel. And I know this can be tricky, especially for some black individuals. You don't want to stand up to the cops in the wrong situations because you can get hurt, killed, arrested, and all these different types of things. But that's when, in those situations, be aware, like, this is a dangerous situation for me. Let me try to, like, not fight for my respect from this cop and the words they're saying and how they're treating me, because unless there's people with the camera around and I'm willing to maybe be that sacrifice because I could potentially lose my life in this interaction, don't push it, but find other ways. There's other ways that we can go about it. I'm just saying, don't engage cops when they're coming at you hard, because most times you're going to lose, at least in the micro moment, and that it's a rough choice to want to make. I prefer to avoid those situations myself. But anyways, yeah, the system broke in 2008, really got unequal after that, and what we're seeing now is the buildup of that whole breakdown, and it's only going to get worse before it gets better, in my opinion. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so with these riots, and this is where I'm getting into kind of blockchain related stuff and cryptocurrencies and how this is propelling us towards the future, because you got people out there destroying businesses, and I've seen a couple stories where they're destroying banks, and even a story where they burned down a post office. Now, if that kind of behavior continues, especially banks and stuff, and people have less access to banks, there's going to be an outcry for a system where that's not really, that's a weakness. And they're going to want a system where that weakness is removed. Hence, You're going to start getting blockchain-based things and stuff that are digital online ledgers. Even you can take down servers, you can take down certain server farms, but you're not taking down the whole thing. Oftentimes they can switch traffic over to another area and try and solve a problem, stuff like that. But they're going to start, if critical infrastructure needs to start breaking down because of these riots, they're going to need to quickly implement a new system. And I'm guessing, like hoping that it's going to start going towards a blockchain-based system because it can be more secure, distributed, and digital. So it's not a physical thing. And this, again, we're moving towards a digital reality with a lot of things, in my perspective. So, yeah, watch for those types of things. And this is even getting into, I've mentioned it in previous videos, like we got an election coming up. If they're burning down post office, that's one clear, like, oh, there's a way to influence votes and stuff like that. Like, I grew up liberal, grew up that I think everybody deserves the right to vote. Realistically, I don't think that voting by mail is the most secure way. People can say what they want and be like, the calls that they're going to vote rig and stuff are there's no foundation for that, and they've ever proven that. That's not from my research. I found plenty of instances where there has been voter fraud, and these little things come up that are wrong. So it's just a battle between everybody deserves the right to vote, but it needs to be done right. And there are clearly forces on both sides that will try and co-opt and rig this election. I promise you, it's not just one side or the other. There's evil on both sides. There's people that will do whatever they can that their side wins on both sides. And in my opinion, they will both try and rig this election. So we need to find a much more safe and secure way. And that's why probably not in this year, especially like a blockchain-based voting system that's really vetted, secure, and known to be like tamper-proof. Probably not for this election, but hopefully that's what they're working on, something like that, because in the future, we're going to have to do something different. That's just my opinion on those matters. And when it comes to cryptocurrencies in general, the news along that route, you got Backed has bought more Bitcoin since the halving than have been produced. So say, I don't know the exact numbers right now, but if 1,200 Bitcoin have been mined since the halving, Backed has bought 1,800. So they're buying more than is being mined. And that's only going to increase, in my opinion. And that's institutional investors. And also they're starting to collect Ethereum because this whole DeFi space is being built on Ethereum. And even on little amounts of stuff, Ethereum is going to be used for gas. To access a lot of these platforms and stuff, you're going to need some Ethereum just to make transactions. And if institutions are going to be putting money in DeFi, they're going to want to have a healthy store of Ethereum just to make sure they can do those transactions, right? And with Ethereum going to be transferring to proof of stake eventually, a lot of the Ethereum that is available is going to be taken out of the market and locked up, so you're not going to have access to it. So both Bitcoin and Ethereum, in my opinion, right now are going to have a nice upward arc as we head into the next year or two, just because a lot of the wealth from the old system that's kind of collapsing right now is you got the Fed printing trillions of dollars, all these different special funding vehicles to try and bail out companies and crap. But we got $1,200, right? As they've given $6 trillion to everybody else. It's not sustainable. You can't just keep printing. Other countries are going to stop buying our bonds eventually, our treasury notes eventually, because there's no yield on them. And like, we're just printing them. They're giving us valuable resources and we just printing this stuff. So eventually you can't keep doing this, and it's not going to work forever. And when that happens, the whole world's going to need to switch to something else. And I think that it's moving towards a blockchain-based cryptocurrency system. And Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be really, really big beneficiaries of that transition, in my opinion, along with the whole crypto. I don't hold a whole lot of either. Well, I hold a good stack of Ethereum just because, passive income in the future. But not all. A lot of the major or good, legitimate projects in cryptocurrencies are going to do well over the next couple of years. So keep an eye on that, especially as big money starts moving them over here. That's most of what I wanted to talk about today. I did want to finish it up. I do like Cliff High, and he released his 2016 reports, all of them, because a lot of what's going on there is happening right. It's almost freaky. And it's weird because, again, Cliff, in his WebBot report, and he's doing these things, he's making a lot of like assumptions and correlations based on current knowledge and his own beliefs, which can be we all have our own opinions and beliefs of things, and if we all believe something and those things are different, we don't all agree necessarily on exactly how the world is. But with that said, and his previous knowledge, a lot of things are in there, and you see, like, he tries to connect things, but it's actually a little bit different than he was assuming, but what is occurring is still happening. Like, he'll say bad winds are causing something here, and he in sun disease, he's referring to the bad winds, but the bad wind was like a virus in the air. Where people can't breathe, and the air is toxic, so people stay away from this area. He called it bad winds back then, but now it's COVID. So he's trying to relate it, but when you look at he's saying these things lead to this X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z are currently occurring. So it's really interesting to see that a lot of this stuff was predicted back in, and he thought it was happening in 2016, but it's happening right now. But anyways, at the end of his June 2016 report, he talked about the overall scope of what's going on, and I thought it was kind of perfect to finish this video off on like what we're experiencing right now and why it's not likely to stop. And it's not just based on racism or the racial issue. This is a lot. Here, I'm going to read it. And again, this is June Alta 2016. You can get all his reports for free. Go to halfpasthuman.com, halfpasthuman.com. Look at Alta reports, and you can find all the 2016 ones for free because he released them. And this is a conclusion titled Lotus Blooming. Propaganda is defined at its core as biased communications, while noting that all communications are biased, and any claiming the contrary are to be treated with suspicion. It is factual that a human society, flooded and drowning in state-purposed propaganda, will self-destruct. All examples of such social disorders in history bear out this conclusion. We need only briefly examine any of the failed civilizations of the past, and if they were not destroyed by the environment, they were destroyed by propaganda. The reason that propaganda floods cause social implosion is quite easy to grasp. It has to do with facts and truth. You see, all of life is education for those who are alive. So crossing the threshold of life is, in parlance of the times, your acquiescence to the terms and conditions of the experience. At its core, the life experience is one of seeking for your version of the truth among the many facts of experiential existence. Make sense? Life is about discovery for you at a personal level that is continuously unfolding just to provide you with the potentials and clues that you, personally, require. So, if it's all of your life to date and to its pull date is all about discovery seeking for truth, then no damn wonder humans don't do well when drowning in deep state bullshit. Propaganda does work, will always work, at least initially and temporarily. At some point in the process, however, the victims of the processes have had their minds walls breached by their personal reality of their life flow intruding beyond the mental constructions put there by the propaganda masters. Such victims of propaganda rebel. What they are rebelling against, or for, or to, is frequently a mystery to them, but deep in their being, they know shit ain't right. And that feeling just will not go away. So they rebel. Slowly at first, in ignorance, and hesitatingly, until the first small success of it all starts crumbling down the edifice of saggy deep state shit wall. And then it comes down in a rush. We are there, now, just slightly ahead of the rush of it all coming down, out, and then spewing out so fast it is hard to track all of it, so your mind just gives it up and ceases instead of seizing. When it's done, this propaganda breakthrough, you will discover a feeling deep within you that is at once both the scariest ever and the most thrilling promise ever, as you look at your own being, standing naked before the universe, swimming in an ocean of misdirecting misinformation, misunderstood, yet aware, and somehow right with it here, now. No wonder those who have been through the enlightenment process call it rebirth. So yeah, to me when I read that, I was like, yeah, because I've been wondering about the propaganda machine that I see dominating our world right now and it's got everybody so sucked into it. And I was like, how can we, I don't know how to combat that thing. But it's in us. And what we're seeing right now out there in the protests and riots, it's the revolt against the propaganda machine that's trying to convince us of a fake world that's different from what we are actually experiencing. I don't know, these are exciting times. People are we're in a time of taking back our personal power. People are starting to wake up and realize, like, if I want my life to go better, I'm going to have to control a little bit better and not let these powers that be do it. And I think that's exactly what we need. Again, it's not about what you do. It's about being aware of what you do and aware of what's done to you. Because then you can change it. That's your crypto awareness for today. Again, it's not about what you do, it's about being aware of what you do. Change, awareness, acceptance, intention, action, patience. We all gotta start choosing to make our reality a little bit different and make this world a little bit more equal. And what we're seeing right now is the beginning throes of that, I think, revolution. So strap in, folks, because we're in for a bumpy couple years, possible decade, but it's a good time to be alive because I like change and that's what's coming. It's your crypto awareness. You all have a good Sunday.